Welcome, everybody, to the Let's Shine a Light in the Dark podcast, brought to you by Let's Organization Zambia. We started out as a domestic violence service and branched out to raise awareness on everything to do with health, talking about physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. We're covering topics with survivors, suicidal ideation, substance abuse, and many other topics that impact our communities and ourselves and our societies. So please just be mindful what you're listening to today. And you can access our website for free resources. You can also reach out to us, make contact if you need support. Please be mindful that we're not a crisis service. Thank you.
Welcome, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us. And I really appreciate you taking the time. And I am really looking forward to hearing your story. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, awesome. I love the fact that you reached out. It's good. It's been hard to share because there's not much in the way of mental health anything where I'm from. My name is Jason Kruger. I born and bred in Zambia, which is a tiny little pondoki of a country in Africa. Love it. It's peaceful. It's calm. Have a varied history. Done a lot of stuff. And mainly struggled with mental health a lot. So when you reached out to me, I was like, yeah, I want to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm still on the journey, but I've had quite a few victories. So it's awesome. Yeah.
The journey of recovery is a journey with lots of bumps and ups and downs and.
Exactly, yeah. And the recovery, I don't think it ever ends. There's moments. I was out of town this week, up in a city north called Soweto, and I was doing the ticketing for a marathon. And there was a problem, a very big problem, and it's the main reason why they brought me up. And I had the night before, not the marathon, but we were doing registration a few days before. And the night before, I had an absolute ringer of an anxiety attack. And it was horrific. Like I wanted to get on the plane and go home immediately, and that's the thing that's my horrible one, the anxiety. Yeah, the anxiety is the one and I've had it since I was a kid, like early 5 or 6 years old.
Wow. Okay.
I used to dread going to school. That was my big one because I was a mommy's boy as well. I didn't want to leave my mom because she was my safety, and I didn't realize it at the time. But she was my anchor.
Yeah.
And going to school where I wasn't a social person, introvert, very hard to be around other people, very very scared of interactions and that. And so going into this big wild world at the end of apartheid in South Africa, if I mentioned, it was in South Africa when I lived there. In fact, is the school that I went to was the first school in the entire South Africa that allowed non-white kids into a white school. And it was an amazing school. Amazing. Looking back, I love it now, but back then, yeah. And, obviously with anxiety comes depression. So I've struggled with depression a lot. And it's hard as a man. It's hard as a male kid because, and I'm not going to go into that normal trope of like, be a man and, you can't cry and all of that nonsense. But I don't think the world back then knew how to deal with anxiety. And unfortunately, it's a lot more common than these days. But no tools, no knowledge of how to deal with it as a kid, no therapists, no counselors. So you just soldier through, develop some bad habits to deal with it, which I'm still dealing with. Procrastination, one of them. As soon as something is overwhelming, you want to run for the hills and climb into your bed and cover your head with a blanket. I won't do that. I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is Jason's problem. Yeah.
Procrastination is the ultimate B word. I can't swear on radio, but BITCH.
Yes, yeah. Which would it be? Yeah.
So,
And yeah, so it was tough. It's hard to actually even put your story down. I mean, because I've listened to people that have got depression, and a certain part of me can relate because I've struggled with that. But you, and you alone on this entire planet, apart from the Almighty, knows what you're going through.
mm-hmm.
And so no one, no matter the greatest therapist on the planet or the most compassionate, kind, and understanding person, will never fully understand, because they don't experience that moment. Like when I was in Solwezi, I felt like the world was ending. I felt like I was being attacked, like there were people outside of my room waiting to come and beat the door down and come and drag me away, or phone me and start screaming and shouting at me and calling me names. I think I've always had a not low self-esteem, because it's a two-headed. I've always had I've had pride, and being very capable, but at the same time never quite fully being able to trust myself,
Mm-hmm.
never fully being able to, I don't know, love myself to a certain extent,
Mm-hmm.
critical
Yeah.
of myself, running around. And I mean, if you go and read, if you Google what is anxiety, like I'll tick off all the ones, all of them, tick, 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 tick. And yes, a very difficult childhood to a point. I had a grandfather on my mom's side, who was an absolute gentleman, loving human being. And my mom is my mom because of him. I'm him. I'm me because of him. That's the first time that I'd ever felt, wanted and valued. Not that my parents were bad. My parents are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had a tough upbringing. Not a very great relationship with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
But funny enough, when I was 8, I met him for the first time because we were living in South Africa and we had driven up to Zambia. And I met him for the first time when I was 8, and I gave him a hug. And he turned around to my parents later and said, "That's the first person that's ever hugged me."
Wow.
And it was a natural thing for me to do. I didn't even think about it,
Mm-hmm.
because my grandfather was a cuddly, affectionate granddad, and so I got along with my other grandfather as well. He taught me a lot. He was very, very strong in martial arts. When he died, he was 7th Dan in judo and jiu-jitsu.
Oh, wow, amazing.
So very hard man. Like, I remember sitting in the dojo, and he would being passed up, still being white belt, and not being able to go to yellow belt because I wasn't good enough yet. And it was heartbreaking the first time it happened, but then the second time he actually sat me down and explained. I mean, he was a bit of a, okay, now I nearly swore there, but he explained that because I'm his grandson and he's the sensei, Sifu, whatever you wanted to call him, I had to be better than everybody else in the course.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that I was good, but I just wasn't quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then he turned around, and it's something that that stuck with me. He said, "When you do graduate to yellow belt, you would have 100% more than earned it."
Wow.
And I will be very proud of you when you did. And I did. I graduated to where everybody was graduating 3-4 times a year. I was lucky if I did in 2. So and so by the time I was orange belt, I was beating purple belts.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah. And thinking back on it now, actually, I never thought he knew how to love anybody, but looking back at it now, he expressed, yeah. And I've learned in my journey with anxiety and depression and addictions, because I had them all. I've learned that it stems from trauma. And my grandfather, my dad's dad, he was in the copper belts on one of those, those handheld railway carts that you have to use your hands. And my grandfather and his sister were there, and the gun slipped because you couldn't go anywhere because you would have been eaten by a lion. So you had to have a gun. And his father was doing the thing, and the gun slipped and shot him. And I remember my grandfather saying that he could feel his father's internal organs on his face.
Oh my gosh.
And that, yeah. And then he got kicked out of their house, and he went and stayed with his grandfather, my great-grandfather, who was a Calvinist. Very, very strong, horrible man, from what my grandfather told me. Who got eaten by a lion. Yeah,
no way. What the heck?
Eaten by a lion.
Eaten by a lion, shot with body parts hanging out. Oh my god.
Yeah. So we come from
talk about Zambia.
So you most likely see that you know my cousin Clinton, who I'm so proud of him. It gives me goosebumps seeing him overcome the challenges that he has. But almost every single one of us cousins have got issues. Yeah, almost all of us. And the main one is alcohol. My grandmother on my dad's side was an alcoholic until a few years before she died. Alcohol plays a very, very big role in Zambian society, regardless of your skin color. Yeah,
it absolutely does.
There's nothing else to do.
Well, I think that's perspective, but yes, I see what you're saying, Jason.
Well, at the time I thought so.
Yeah.
At the time I thought so. But now, now there's you see life outside of holding up a bar. Yeah.
100%. And it's great to see you overcoming and coming out on the other side, and it's you should be proud of yourself, and I'm really proud of you too. I know I've just met you, but really proud of you too, and hearing your story.
Thank you.
And how well you're doing.
Yeah.
Before I ask you a question, before I ask you one of the questions, I just wanted to check, when you were feeling anxious in that hotel room, what did you do? What did you do to combat that? You prayed.
Prayed. Straight up, yeah. Unabashedly Christian. I don't use that term lightly. I hated calling myself a Christian in the past because I didn't want to be associated with them. Now I struggle to call myself a Christian because I'm not there yet. I'm still a work in progress, and I don't want to shine a bad light on that. But I've learned. I was in that room with this overwhelming sense of dread and despair, and I prayed more than once, and it's like it almost slipped my mind, and I was reading a book, and a few minutes later it was just, how can I explain it? Sitting on a beach with a calm ocean and palm trees around you. That was the feeling that I got.
Amazing.
Immediately, and I was just blown away. And the funny thing was, when I woke up the next morning, the dread was back.
Okay.
And I did the same thing, and I prayed, and then I got busy getting ready because it was stupid o'clock in the morning. And by the time I was walking out the room, I was the same thing of peace. Yeah.
That's amazing. And it's so great that you can recognize that those are the two things that help. So you prayed, which is absolutely amazing. And the second thing that you did was distraction. So for anybody that might be listening, and they haven't found God, or that's not something that they'd go to when they're feeling in that space, distraction is one of the best ways to help with anxiety, especially if you're having to do something right away. So it's great that you could get out of your own head and then carry on with your day, because I bet you quite needed it.
Exactly. Yeah, because your spotlight, you're not focused on the issue. One of the greatest, thank you. I didn't know that. Now I do. But one of the best tools that I've used for the anxiety is, the last time that this happened, was it as bad as you thought? Did it turn out as bad as you thought it would be? And the answer is no. It still doesn't help a lot. It'll help with putting it into perspective. Yes, this is it's an anxiety attack that you're going through right now. The world is not out to get you.
No.
Breathing helps as well.
Yes. So you described doing a checking the facts CBT skill. It's actually a cognitive behavioral therapy skill, what you just described, which is, was it as bad as it could have been last time, or what's the likelihood of it being as bad this time for moving forward? And one of the greatest things about that skill is that it helps change certain channels in your brain that allow you to think in certain ways. So the more you do it, the more positive creations you're creating in there, which is so wonderful. So well done for you. Well done for doing that.
Because if you think about it, the brain is a machine.
Yes.
And it's it's the greatest machine that was ever created.
Absolutely is. Yeah. Absolutely is. Yeah. What's a lesson that you've learned that you wish you could impart on your younger self?
My younger self?
Mm-hmm. If you think...
Don't take a loan today that you have to pay tomorrow.
Okay.
So in other words, it's to deal with the procrastination, to deal with stupidities like, it's okay if I do this line of cocaine, because tomorrow, it doesn't matter because tomorrow's tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And then you're lying at 9 o'clock in the morning, having run out of money and cocaine with a massive come down where, even thinking about it now, I'm so grateful that I've been freed from that. Terrible moments, and you in that moment there in the come down, hating the idiot that stood there in the bar with a line of cocaine on the mirror in the bathroom, and you had a great time, all well and good, but the consequences of the actions. If I could speak to myself, I would tell him that the consequences do matter. Mm-hmm. Like now I'm 44, I live in constant pain because I compressed a disc in my lower back at 19.
How?
And I have struggled with it since wakeboarding. Yes. I used to wakeboard in crocodile-infested waters, and the way that I learned how to wakeboard and stay up was where I hurt my back a couple of weeks later, was to go to the place where the biggest crocodiles are.
Oh, right, okay.
And so you don't want to fall off the water. And thinking about it now is that I didn't value my life then as much as I do now. Mm-hmm. So that would be the first part. The second part would be love yourself a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Don't be as hard on yourself. It turns out all right. Yeah.
Okay.
It turns out all right.
So one of the things before I asked you that question, you said you wanted to tell me a little bit about how you got there, how you got here. So if you think about that, and then the question I've just asked you, which is what would you wish to impart on your younger self? What would you have said to yourself to stop yourself from going on this path that you have? Just to get us into this, you talking a little bit about how you got here.
Well, I mean, it's both questions answered. So my sister got sick with kidney failure. At the time, I was going to Bible college. I had an excellent job with a great salary working for my uncle, and just really valued. Spent a lot of, really valued. And then my sister got sick, and no way that we could have done the kidney transplant here. So we went down to SA. And I wasn't supposed to be the donor, and it turned out that I was. So
How old were you? Sorry.
And lived with her. I was 26 when 26. She got sick. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was just trying to understand the crocodiles and the kidney, if they were related.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
you
I was a very laid-back person there. Do whatever, it doesn't matter. Well, consequences be damned. Mm-hmm. So God had set it up in such a way, and looking back, I think it was about 2 years ago, I realized that every single avenue, every single aspect, everything that we needed in this time that I was in South Africa, which was the most horrific time I've ever been through my entire life. I'll give you an example. My sister woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. She had a catheter in her neck for dialysis. She woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was like blood was pumping, not trickling, pumping out of this catheter. I went back to her room, and it looked like a murder scene.
Wow.
I rushed her to the hospital, got to the hospital, which was an hour away. Got to the hospital, rushed her into the emergency, had an argument with the staff there because they were sleeping. They didn't want to wake up because it was a government hospital. Had to force the guy to take my sister and so, I'm covered in blood, and I look in a mattress to the left, and there's a guy. I look to my left, and there's a guy on a mattress with a machete in his head. And that was just one of the delightful little experiences. I saw 30 to 40 people die before my eyes.
Oh my gosh.
Sitting in my sister's dialysis room with so many people coming through, and you build a rapport with him. And there was this one guy that was, he's like in his 50s. He was one of the jovial, hey, type of guys, and had just built such a rapport, because in South Africa, Joburg especially, is hard to make friends with people. They're very selfish, materialistic people.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry if you're from Joburg. Not sorry. Very hard. And he was just the life of the party, and I just really connected with him, and he helped me a lot. And over a period of like 5 or 6 dialysis once a week, we rapport, and then to come looking forward to seeing him and say, oh, sorry, he died last night. And so seeing trauma, and again, as you said, as I said, it's all of addictions stem from, I've learned, most of them. And I came back here, and I saw a counselor, not even a therapist, first time in my life. It was very hard, but I was dating an amazing woman, and she pushed me into it. And this woman turned around and said, you remind me of an oak tree, very strong and powerful, and can weather many storms, but there will be a storm that comes once, and it'll knock you down because you're so rigid. You need to be like bamboo, and you need to, because bamboo can shift and thing. And that stuck with me quite a lot. But yeah, so I went through massive trauma in South Africa. My sister, because of the steroids and the hormone stuff that she was on, she was a horrible person.
You ended up donating your kidney to her, didn't you? Because you didn't try
it. I did, yeah, I did. And funny enough, I was born with oversized kidneys. So a normal person's kidneys are about 9 inches. Mine were 14.
What?
And so, yeah, so it was almost like God planned it. I don't know, maybe he did,
yeah.
And yeah, it went very well. After I gave the kidney to her, I moved back to Zambia, and I made a massive mistake in South Africa. So God had intended me to go to a Reformed Anglican sort of church, which was a little bit more formal, but it was very quiet and loving and peaceful. And instead, I chose to go to, because I've spent my life around music. I do sound for church and things like that. So I wanted to go, and I wanted to feel valued, and I wanted to participate, because I've never been somebody that sits and receives. I want to do something, and to feel valued. And I went to this church, and the guy was playing church basically. And he had a lot of famous singers in his church, and I was abused by them. They gave me nothing and took so much from me. And so I was in a dry desert when it came to care and love. And I had another friend of mine who said, hey, do you want to go play pool? I said, yes, please, I have to. I was craving social interaction, because I'm a very social person. So I went to the bar, and the first time that I was there, I hadn't drank in the 3.5 years. I was going to Bible college. So 3.5 years I'd been sober, and the first night it was fine. The second night he said, why don't you have a beer? So I said, oh, why not, Again, the consequences thing. And so I had a beer, and over the period of maybe 3 or 4 months, it turned from 1 beer into 12, and with the occasional line of Coke in the bathroom, having had just donated my kidney as well.
Wow, dangerous.
And so, yeah, because I had been pummeled, I'd been beaten, and a big part of me wanted to die. Yeah.
Why?
But I think I was a bit. I wouldn't say I was a coward to kill myself. It's because I have tried that twice. Both times failed.
Yay!
Thank God. Yeah. And I I didn't have any self-respect. I didn't love myself. Even though, and when people came, even now, to say, "Oh, congratulations, I'm so proud of you for I'll accept it. I'll be like, "Yeah, thank you." It means, but at the time, it was like, yeah, I mean, I would have done it anyway. Like, it wasn't even a question.
You were close
they
to
told
your
me that I
sister.
was the match.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was funny, when they told me there was a match, it was my mom, my cousin, Olga, myself, and my sister, and I went in. They went into the doctor to see who was the match, and the doctor had said, just get one more person to do the test to see if they were a match. And I was sitting outside in the reception, and my mom poked her head out and said, "You need to come inside." I said, "What?" And I sat down and said, "You are a better match than anybody here." So I said, "Okay, let's do this." And I expected, okay, let's go into the next room, just whip it out quickly and shove it in my sister, and we'll be golden. No, it wasn't like that. Yeah, you do markups, and they surprisingly, I didn't know why at the time, because again, lack of self-respect or love of myself. I was like, who cares if I don't make it? Just take the thing out and give it to my sister. And so I gave the kidney. I moved back to Zambia. My sister stayed in South Africa for a while, and she was the epitome of bad decisions. She was broken inside, and the only way that she could fix it was by buying things or pretending to be something that she's not. And it was tough watching her go through it. But because I'd been through it with her, I was tired of her. I've dealt with this, I've forgiven her completely because I understand what she went through and what she was going through. And I think that was that little epiphany was things that helped me quit drinking and drugs and all of that. And so she buys a VW Beetle from an oily car salesman. She doesn't even get 30 kilometers down the road at 7 p.m. at night on a massive highway in the middle of Joburg, in one of the most dangerous areas of Joburg. I get a phone call from her. I've broken down here, even though I warned her not to buy the car. And it's a typical Joburg thing where I phoned a friend of mine who was 20 minutes down the road. "Hey, can you go help my sister?" "No, I've got work in the morning." Like, dude, she's a white girl in the middle of a dangerous area in Johannesburg. It's like a recipe for disaster, and eventually had to get a towing truck and all that. And so by this point, when she moved back to Zambia, I had had enough. She then just went sideways, and she went to the town that I was in this weekend, and she didn't take her pills, and she rejected my kidney. And so at that point, all of the sacrifices that I had made up until that time meant nothing to her. And again, I'm speaking from back then, because now I've completed it. And it hurt. It burnt me. And our relationship was very bad. And one of the last things that I ever did with her, she was going on a trip to Botswana. And she was driving and then flying, and she was warned not to fly because she could have had an embolism, because she had rejected my kidney at this time. And so she was back on dialysis, and my other cousin was going to give her kidney. And she went anywhere, because that's who she was. She was broken and hurting. And she was with a boyfriend. He was a good guy. And she, as a peace offering, she had bought me a facial scrub. And it was next to my bed, and we had the worst argument we've ever had. I dislocated my pinky. That's how angry I was with her from squeezing my hands. I had to pop it back into place. That's how angry I was. And I'd rather do that to myself than lay hands on anybody. But and I took this facial scrub and I launched it at her down the passage and said, "Take your effing whatever." Sorry, we can leave that one out. And I launched it at her, and she left, and I felt really, really bad about the whole thing. So we had 4 staff members working for us at that time, and myself and these other 4 people turned the house upside down, and I couldn't find this thing. because I felt bad and I wanted to think. So she goes to Botswana, comes back. I see her in the hospital. Half of her body's blue from where she's been lying on the mattress. And I looked at her and we had an argument in the hospital where I said, when are you going to wake up? When is enough enough? When are you going to listen? When are you going to stop putting us all through this pain? And so she had a blowout in the emergency room at the hospital, which is typical for us. Like, we would fight, and if you try to get involved, both of us would shout at you, leave us alone, we're sorting this out. And so she went on dialysis, and they told her, listen, there's a 50-50 chance. You're either going to die of this thing or you're going to get an embolism. And that's basically what happened. The dialysis loosened because you go on blood thinners. The dialysis loosened the blood clot in her leg, and then it basically traveled up to her lungs, and she had a pulmonary embolism. And the last thing, I wasn't allowed in the dialysis ward, so I put my head in through the door, and she was drinking a Coke and eating a pizza, and I put my thumbs up at her, and she said, "Yeah, I'm good," and that was the last time. And so obviously it had broken me. And so I get back the night after her death, and I'm in the shower, and I look up, and what do I see? The facial scrub.
Wow.
And this thing that I had turned over the house, and I just wept. I broke down. And like, all of this stuff for the last few years just came crashing in, and I wanted to end it. And I said to the ether, I said to the world around me, I said, I'm done. I've had enough. And all of a sudden, I felt this presence behind me. And I was so afraid, because I was curled up in the shower, and the shower had even gone cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate the cold. And I was curled up in the shower, and this presence manifested in the room. And it was my sister. And I felt like she had the wisdom of the ages. Like, she knew every single secret that was ever known, and that she was powerful, and just this being of light and love and power. Like, I can't explain the power. And she said to me, "I see how much it hurt him." And I said, "I'm coming home." And she said, "No. Yes, at some point you will come home, but not so soon." And then she left. And it's still something. I've heard a lot of Christian teachings that say once you're dead, you're done, and you never come back. And I don't know, maybe God at that moment had allowed her to come and just say a farewell, if you want to call it that, and just make sure that I didn't do anything stupid. It didn't stop me. I tried twice, but both failed, which was good.
For failing.
Yeah. So from that moment onwards, I mean, the night of her death, I had all my close friends around me, and they basically held all the pieces together like in a cup of water in a sieve. And I got absolutely hammered, and it devolved from there. And then at one point, it was a St. Paddy's Day, and I was at a pub called O'Hagan's, and my mate, I wasn't going to go, and my mate, one of my best friends, was like, "Come, it's St. Paddy's Day. What are you doing?
O'Hagan's in Lusaka.
So I got there. Lusaka.
Oh, yeah, I've been there. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it closed. I think it's closed.
Is it?
Drinking a while ago. So.
Okay.
And he came and he said, he convinced me, and we were there. We were having a couple of pints and whatnot. And this American woman walked out, and she was tall and statuesque, and I was a terrible womanizer at the time, and she pushed all the buttons. And 2 weeks later, she walked out after doing a pregnancy test. She had told me the night before that she thought she was pregnant, and she said, and I think this is where my dad came in, because my dad's an honorable man, and she said, and her interaction with me and her thought pattern was based on who I was to her, which was a waste of space, womanizing, drunkard idiot. And she thought that I wouldn't have anything to do with it. But I think I'm pregnant. I'm doing the pregnancy stick. I'll do it at work, and I'll tell you what the result is. And something in my mind, and again, I blame my dad, said, "No, I'm not going to let you do this alone." if you are pregnant, I will be there and I'll do it. And it was the first honest form of integrity that I'd given in years. And so we went there. She walked out the bathroom absolutely bawling her eyes out. And I had this stupid look on my face. And yeah, there was a pregnancy stick. I saw the lines on the stick, and immediately I felt a physical click in my mind. I felt something click. And I said it to you earlier that I tease her, and she hates it when I do this, but I tease her that she gestated 2 children because she's stuck. Yeah, she's stuck by me. We're not together, unfortunately. Her and I don't have any form of personal relationship as such. As a parent, both of us, she is an incredible woman.
Oh, wow, that's good.
We broke up when my son was 18 months. My son is an absolute blessing. My sister's death brought death into our family. My son brought life and love again.
Oh, amazing.
For all of us, my mom and my 2 sisters, my 2 younger sisters, and my dad, and just brought love and life back into our family.
Amazing.
And yeah, he is. And he's. If I could have sat with God and given him a list of what I wanted in a son, God would have said, okay, yeah, I'll look in that list, but have you forgotten about this? And he would have added a whole bunch of stuff as well. And so we broke up when he was 18 months. We were 2 very, very different people. I'm a traditional, not really, but I lean towards a traditional white African male, and she is very, very American. Yeah, it leans towards the blue side. And so it was tough. It's a sad thing, because I think it's one of the greatest regrets that I will ever have is not giving my son a stable home of mom and dad.
Where is he?
My mom and dad are still together, and they gave me that.
Amazing.
I still turned out a little bit wobbly, but
at the start.
But when we broke,
a bit wobbly at the start.
Yeah, still a little bit. But we broke up when he was 18 months, and 2-3 days after we broke up, she would video call me every day at 6 p.m. so I could talk to him. Every day, without fail. For 2 years, she did that. She's never badmouthed me in front of him.
Oh, that's good.
We've had a few arguments in the beginning where the wound was still raw. Where he saw that, and then we both agreed no more arguments. I actually paid for therapy for the 2 of us after we had broken up, with an amazing man that helped me get off of that helped me. I think his therapy was like 50% of the work. And we had and he sat down as the referee, and he was like, okay, offsides, when I said something stupid or she did. But so now we don't really, again, I said we don't really have a personal relationship. I respect her, and I do love her to an extent. But as a co-parent, she's incredible.
That's okay.
And I'm truly, truly grateful. It could have gone sideways with some of the women that I've been with. I even shudder to think if I'd made one of them pregnant. Sorry, Lord. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's wonderful. Where's your son now?
He's here. I pick him up from school every day. He stays with his mom weekdays, and he comes and spends weekends with me. I have a nice gaming PC, and the other day I introduced it. Well, when he was about 6, I introduced him to a game, and he's an avid gamer, which I know the other parents are gonna be like, "That's bad," but I'm a gamer, so and it's good to share something with him.
Yeah, of course.
But
she didn't move back to America, which is good.
Yeah, and she stayed. Well, actually, she came here to Zambia in 2016 as an intern, and because she stayed, her talents, which she's very talented, shone, and she became the director of the Zambia office. Then she became the country director of the whole company, and now she's regional director.
Amazing.
And she single-handedly saved the business from collapse.
Oh, amazing.
And yeah, so and I mean she built a house here, so
yeah.
you are stuck here. At some point, she will move back to America, and it's something that I've had to come to terms with. But it's fine. Yeah, it's all right.
How old's your son now?
8.
8, amazing. And how long have you been clean and sober?
8 years.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I gave up.
Well done, you.
So thanks. Yeah. Clinton and I were talking about it. My cousin Clinton and I, we were talking about it, and I liken sobriety to a tree.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's young, you've got a small little seedling.
Yeah.
And if you don't water the seedling, if you don't put in sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
it'll die. And I think every time, like if you go anywhere near, if you drink while you're sober, you just uproot the whole thing. Just tear it out and throw it away. And if you don't take care of it, it'll die. If you do something stupid like go and meet your friends, if you're sober, right when it's the little seedling and you're sober just a little bit, you go meet your friends at a bar, imagine yourself pulling off a leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, if you do that enough times, there'll be no more leaves and your tree will die. But the more you feed it, the more you give it sunlight, the more you water it, the more you take care of it, the bigger it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you've got a massive tree, which is my sobriety now, if you've got a massive tree in your yard and you get pull off a leaf, it's not going to do anything. So, some of my friends now, my cousin, he had a relapse a few days ago, and it was ugly. But I went and gave him a little tree. I don't know what he's done with it, but I hope he planted it. But yeah, for me, I was in Lake Kariba, Siyavonga,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that it was time. And I went to my friend's lodge. He owns Lake Safari Lodge, and he's got a beach down at the bottom. And I went into the hotel. I wasn't going to touch any alcohol. And then I took 3 pieces of paper, and I wrote a letter to God. I wrote a letter to my grandfather, and I wrote a letter to my sister. Do not remember what was in them. It was almost like auto writing.
Mm-hmm.
I just put a pen and started writing. I do not remember what I wrote there. But I think I've got an inkling, and like I poured out the vitriol and the hate that I had
Mm-hmm.
into that page, and then I forgave them. And then I took those pieces of paper down to the beach and I burnt them on the beach. And it sounds like romantically symbolic, but it worked. And I went back up to the lodge, and all my friends were there, and they had ice cold draft beer, which is some of the best beer that I've ever tasted in my life. And I remember sitting down at the table, maybe 1.5 beers in, and realizing that this weight that I had been carrying in my shoulders is gone. And then I felt like I was walking in the clouds for a few seconds there. And I looked around and I saw all these people that I love and care for around me, and it was just, wow, yeah, I'm there. And then that morning, I drank until about 3:00 in the morning on the 1st of January. And I looked at the beer in my hand, I put it down, and I went home, and I woke up, and I've been sober since. I haven't touched a drop. So
wow, absolutely amazing. Well done. And
to be honest with you, it's God. Yeah, God freed me from it.
God is amazing.
I've been, yeah, and I went to AA. Before I got sober, while I was still drinking, I was going to AA because I said to myself, and I think this, if you've got a drinking problem and you're listening to this now, you have to get to your defining moment. You have to get to a moment that breaks you so much that the pleasure of the alcohol is far outweighed by the struggles and the devastation that you are doing in your life. And I came to a point where I said, I'm going to do everything in my power to get this evil out of my life. And I imagine it like somebody having their hands around your throat.
Wow.
And I remember a week after I'd been sober, I was sitting at the coffee table, and every day at 4 p.m. I had to have a beer. And this was the first day after a week, the first day that I didn't want a beer. And I just broke down I cried a lot. I don't know, but back then. And it was the first day that I had ever had the choice to say no. And I realized how much power that I had given away to this. And the power of, and then at that moment having the power of choice. And it overwhelmed me with how powerful that was.
Wow.
And yeah, so been sober since. And it's funny, God has put quite a few people in my life that I had zero hope of ever being sober. And like one was my former drug dealer.
What?
And he came and he's like, yeah. And I was sober for a year. I didn't even know what I was doing. And we sat in the car one day. He called me, went and had coffee, sat in the car one day and we prayed. And we're like, God, he phoned me about a week later and he was like, dude, I haven't drank. I'm clean. I'm sober. I'm done. And he's still to this day. And that was 7 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, if he... a fun-loving drug dealer that didn't really make any money because he was always giving us free stuff. If he can do it, then if I can do it, then you can. Yeah.
So I think you've got a lot of insight, and you've described different ways that you've used tools and maybe not even realized. So you said, I mean, one of the most cathartic ways to heal from anger, resentment, and moving into forgiveness is by what you chose to do, which is writing letters, putting all your in there, like all your stuff in there, and then burning them. So it's actually quite a therapeutic and cathartic experience for people to do. So the way that your brain processes it, puts everything down, and then the process of burning it. So you're making all these great, amazing choices and not necessarily seeing it, but you've done really, really well. You come across really well. I know you've talked many times about how you said your self-esteem's not great, and then you sort of said maybe it is, and you sort of said it's a scale. I think your self-esteem has definitely grown. I know I didn't know you before, but the way that you described yourself and who you were and the choices you made compared to who you are now is, absolutely amazing, wonderful. And
I think I've reconciled with that guy.
Yeah.
Because there was, in the first few weeks of sobriety, first few months, he was the enemy to me. Mm-hmm. But I've reconciled with him and knowing that he is part of me and I was him. Writing the letters, it had to come at the right time, because the journey of sobriety for everybody is different from my experience, and you can't force things.
No.
So a lot of the, like that writing, I had to be in the right mindset. If I had done that 2 hours before I'd done that, it would have failed.
Yeah.
I would have failed. And again, the defining moment is a big one. My defining moment, and the reason why, one of the biggest reasons why my son's mom and I are split, is because I missed the birth of my son. He was born in America. I went to the embassy to get my visa, which I'd prepared for massively, and for some reason the guy denied me. So I missed. And I remember walking out of the embassy, shattered. And the first thing that popped into my mind, and this is the start of it, the first thing that popped into my mind was, I want to go get F drunk.
Yeah.
I want to go. And then a small, still voice said to me, but what would that prove? But what would that prove? And it was just like a breath, like a wind that blew through me, and just of revelation. Like, and I mean, that was in November, and I still drank for another 2 months, and I was stupid about it as well. I really made some poor choices in those last 2 months that I was drinking. And now, I liken sobriety to the tree. I love my tree. I love my sobriety. It's precious to me. It's something that is a big definer of myself as a human being right now. But I also know that I've been given complete freedom. The Alcoholic Anonymous guys, which unfortunately, I mean, it helped a lot of stuff. The beautiful thing about AA was sitting there, and I'm on the other side of the fence listening to a woman who's been sober for 6 years, and she's telling stories, and I'm like, I do that. I did that, and I'm doing that now, and I'm hurting people in my life, and I'm doing all of this, but she's been sober 6 years. If she can do it, me, and just being able to relate to her and her experiences, if she can do it, then maybe I can do it. The other stuff, like what they call white knuckling, I don't believe in that. I never once allowed myself to have that label of, hi, my name is Jason and I'm an alcoholic. I never once allowed it. It was a bugbear for them. But they give you that like knowing smirk, like, oh, at one day he's gonna admit that he's just not there in his journey yet. I never, and I don't want to bash AA, because it helps so many people, and I'm really I really admire it a lot. But for me, I could never label myself like that. You know, they'd say things like, while you're sober, your drunkenness, your alcoholism is doing push-ups in the background. And you know, for a lot of people, and I think it's God that, and I'll say this with 100% confidence, is that God freed me. I still hang out with some of my, for the first year or so I didn't really, but I still hang out with a lot of my drunken friends. I lost a very dear friend of mine about 3 weeks ago. It was a blow. He was an avid cricketer, and he was 48. Yeah, he had a heart attack on the cricket pitch in the middle of a run.
Gosh. And
he died on the pitch, and he was like my older brother, a genuine human being. I led the service for him. And you know, I was Googling like the characteristics of Christ, and I was reading it out in his service, and every single characteristic that I saw that I was reading was like him, who he was. And all of my mates were there, and they're all still big drinkers, and I could see that the party was going sideways. I knew that, you know, we're at a memorial, guys. Behave yourselves, man. And so I got up and I left. And then my other close friend of mine, he's Muslim, and he also doesn't drink. That's how we became close, because we still hang out in the same group of reprobates. But you know, I don't drink anymore. So we built a rapport, and I consider him one of my best friends, like if not my best friend. And he told me the next day, and he was like, dude, it just devolved. And I mean, when you're in your 30s, you can party like an idiot. But then, you know, you need to say, hey, okay, guys, like, you know, we got 2 kids, and, you know, I got the job, I got work in the morning, and nothing like that. And, yeah, it just evolved. Everybody started acting like idiots. And I just realized that I'm so grateful for the freedom that I've been given, that I don't have to, I'm not subjected. Like I don't have to do that. Yeah.
That's amazing, and thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry about the loss of your friend. It's nice to see that you've still got, you know, that you're able to still link in and have relationships with them, but without it affecting and impacting who you are, who you choose to be today, and who you choose to be for your son as well. You know, for you, your son, and your family, your wider family, which is wonderful. And you've talked about many different like challenging moments and overcoming those, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today, which I'm grateful that you've shared with everybody. Can you tell me a couple of things that you typically do when you're handling adversity or unexpected challenges?
Prayer, instantly. Instantly. And it's not something that I can brag about. It's not something that I did. Apart from just accepting it and in that moment and training myself on a daily basis to know that I can reach out to the creator of the air that we are breathing right now, who not only is present and powerful, he loves me.
Yes. Yes, it is.
And know that he sees me and he knows me better than myself. And all he's doing, my favorite verse in the entire Bible is Revelation 3:20. Here I am, I knock. And if you hear my voice and open the door, I will come in and we will share a meal together.
Amazing.
And that is just like, because God is a gentleman. He never forces you into anything. Throughout all of my stupidity, he looked at me, and without that, he didn't give that shaking, look at this idiot. No, he was like, I'm so sorry you're hurting yourself, Mum. But I am here when you're waiting for me. I will be here when you're ready. I'll give an example. My mom had a cancer scare. And I remember sitting in work, and she walked in, because I work from home, and she was devastated and crying because the medical aid didn't say no, but they said they have to review to see if they'll cover this. And she immediately went panic stations. My sister's death hurt her hard, and she hasn't dealt with it yet. I pray for her constantly for that, but she was devastated, and so she has a tendency to, what would you call it, like negativity. She thrives, like if I think of the worst, when the worst happens, it won't be so bad. And it's a defense mechanism, it's a coping mechanism. And she walked in, and I didn't realize how much I relied on God. And again, I don't want to say this is like, oh, look what I'm doing, because it's not. It's just him. It's all him. And she walked in, and she was devastated. She was in tears. And the first thing that I thought to do was to pray. Like, that was my go-to. Like, God, you're going to deal with this. Not can you deal, you are going to deal with this. And so she was panicking and she was crying. I tried to pray with her. She refused. She pulled her hands and she walked off. And then I went and looked, and so she had a lump in her back. And what it was actually a blackhead. So I went like 5 minutes later with my torch and my camera, and I looked and I said, Mom, this is what it is. And she was like, okay. So I saw that with me with the anxiety as well. As you look to the bad, your mind focuses on the bad, because anxiety for me, I feel like I'm under attack, like something bad is going to happen, and yeah, I mean, some of the time something bad does happen, but 99.9% of the time you are overreacting. And that was exactly when I had this panic attack, the last one, the anxiety attack, because there's a very vast difference between the two.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, there is. So panic attack is not. I've had that once. I was put on, and it's the reason why I attempted suicide the second time, is I was put on antidepressants, which was the stupidest mistake I've ever made in my life. And that question, if you could go back, I wouldn't just tell him, I would slap him upside the face. Do not listen to the dermatologist who has no business with mental health telling you that if you take these pills, it'll make everything good. There is no magic bullet with mental health. There is no. You have to have mental fortitude, which I still don't have, and I try on every day, and I push every day. You have to have mental fortitude, and you have to have emotional intelligence. So I went and I thought that it would be a great idea. In 5 years, I was slave to these things. And they put me on 20 milligrams, which made me... I've done ecstasy a lot in my youth, and it gave me the feeling like I was on ecstasy. And I couldn't handle it. And one moment I would be up in the clouds, ecstatic. The next moment I would be depressed. I had my first panic attack ever. I was in the middle of traffic, and it was so bad that I got home and I tried to crawl under a bed where the space between the floor and the bed was 4 inches.
Gosh.
That's how bad it was. and I've never ever felt that. And that was a full blown panic attack. I thought that to my car on the way home, and I again saw still voice. I took my cell phone out. I put gospel music on a radio station, gospel radio station, and I put a towel on the floor, and I put my forehead on the floor, and I started worshiping God. And that's the only way that I got out of that. I hadn't been depressed. I used to struggle with depression when I was drinking. I'd never been depressed, and I'd been sober for 8 months at this time. I hadn't had a bout of depression. I was depressed. 2 days into taking these pills, I was depressed. Then I went down to 10, and it kind of stabilized. But if I missed one dosage of my pills, the wheels would fall off. And then, because it's a serotonin uptake inhibitor, I had no motivation. Like, it would remove any form of motivation that I had, and I coasted through those 5 years doing nothing with my life. I wasted 5 years of my life because of those things. And so I went down and I tried it 3 times. I went from 20 to 10, and then the first time I went from 10, 5, and I got to 2.5 milligrams, and then I tried to kill myself. No, sorry, I didn't that time. I had to go back on them because I couldn't handle it anymore. It was just, I was manic, and I was all over the place, and the depression. And then in September 2021, I said to myself, I would rather die than be on these things. And I've got blood pressure issues from donating my kidney. The doctors told me I had to go back on the antidepressants because my BP was so high that it was going to kill me. And I said to them in front of my mom, I would rather die than go back on these things. And so I forced myself to do it, and the wheels came off, and I was an absolutely horrific human being. I will be forever grateful to my mom and dad because they took me in because I wasn't living with Julie anymore. They took me in, and they put up with my They put up with me, not violent, I was never violent, but violent mood swings, like horrible mood swings, behaving like a child that had their toys taken away. And I pushed it, and I never let go. I never stopped. I went down from 5, and I would space it between like 3 or 4 weeks each. I actually when I first started taking them and wanted to get off of them, I had a pastor friend of mine turn around and say, it takes 2 years to get off of these things. And I laughed at it. I was like, no ways, man, I'll do this in 2 weeks. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. So at the end of November, so it's September, end of November, I had enough. I was on 2.5 milligrams, and it was the crunch time. And I remember my son being with me, and it being so bad that I phoned his mom and said to just come and pick him up, please. I can't deal with any of this. So she came and picked him up, and I just remember taking him to the car, and I was bawling my eyes out because it's too much. I couldn't handle it. And I remember him being so upset because he wanted to be around his daddy, but his daddy didn't want him. And one of the lucky enough he was too young to remember it. And I remember coming back into my room and saying, yeah, it's time. I took the sheet off of my bed, and I tied it into a sort of rope-ish thing, and I tied it around the shower curtain rail, and I hung myself. And I remember as the darkness was encroaching, because I know what asphyxiation is. I almost drowned when I was a kid, so I know what it's. So the blackness starts to come, and that panic of not having air starts to release, and you actually start going into a sort of dreamlike euphoria almost. And I remember just thinking to myself, it's finally over. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Mom. And I looked down, and it was in my bathroom. What my son's toy was doing in my bathroom, I've got no idea. I looked down, and I saw his toy, and immediately my senses came back to me, and I said, no, I'm not doing this to my son. I cannot do this to my son. And I managed to get my feet underneath me, and I took it off. And then after the fact, I fell on my bed, and I wailed, and I exercised it. it's a bit tough as a man talking about this stuff, but if you're listening and you're going through something similar, hold on. Just keep one day at a time, 1 minute at a time if you need to. Put a stopwatch on and just push through this 1 minute. And that's what I did. I wailed and I let all of that gunk and evil come out. And it started getting better from then. And then I moved from 2.5 to 2.5 every second day. And then eventually it was 2.5 once a week. And it was funny, January, it was just after COVID. And I own a company that does even ticketing. So the fact that I had no money either, because, our industry, the events industry, was the first to be hit by COVID. So living at home with mom and dad, they're taking care of me with everything. They're retired. They don't have the money. I felt like, an abuser for that. And,
sorry about that.
And January came around, and I was off of it, and I still felt a bit weird. The minute February came around, I started feeling like a human being again, like a normal, functioning member of society. And I remember feeling that, and not even a day later, I had 3 clients phone me in one day.
Wow.
2 of them were massive events that put my company basically back on its feet again. And not only that, but helped us build it to the point that we're the best ticketing company in Zambia.
Amazing.
And yeah.
Absolutely
and
amazing.
A lot of stupid mistakes, and having an amazing team around me to make those stupid mistakes together and not make them anymore. And it feels great. I mean, one of your questions there was about success. What a neat little segue, right?
Before you segue.
And again, I cannot. Yeah.
Before you segue, do you want to just tell everyone the name of your company in case anyone in Zambia wants to get in touch?
I'm going through a rebrand. So the company's always been, I was running a company called Quicket. And through blood, sweat, tears, and a lot of pain, we got it to where it was. A lot of God. Because, we would pray at events. There's a picture of us at a Jamison event where all of our bouncers, with the 15 of them, and my entire team, were standing outside the front, and we were all praying.
Amazing! Wow.
Yeah. And so, but in December this year, Quicket decided they were bought by Ticketmaster, and Ticketmaster decided that they didn't want to be in Zambia anymore for now. So they decided to pull out of Zambia and gave me 3 weeks' notice.
What?
Yeah, so I still the same company, just I had the rights to Quicket in Zambia, and then so they pulled out, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go do something else with my time. There's so much other stuff that I can do. I want to get back into radio, and then all my clients, I would get phone calls every day, like, what are we doing? Like, how there's no other solution, but how you have to build something. No, you have to. So, and it's funny enough, throughout most of my life, I've never felt like I had a purpose.
Okay.
Like I was just a plastic bag floating in the wind. No substance, no purpose. And for the first time in my life, this January, I felt like God had said, okay, my boy, you will sit, there's your computer. You will sit down in front of your computer and you will build.
Amazing.
And you will do. And I did. And again, the amount of times that I wanted to give up and walk away, but I didn't, because I held that. I'm like, okay, God has said that this is what he wants me to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I am, even though I don't feel like it today, because I'm a procrastinator, and I love running away from my problems. I did it all today. Even though I prayed to God, like, please help this be a productive day. It was barely productive. And yeah, so I sat down in front of my computer and I basically built a platform by myself in a bubblegum and sellotape solution.
Amazing.
And it's just, that, you've said, so the company now is called Tessera, but I'm going to rebrand it soon. because try explain to somebody, so what's your website? tessera.co.za, and it doesn't. It rolls off the tongue.
Very nicely. So
I'm rebranding it to another name.
Another name. Yeah. Okay. So you were about to say, what does success mean to you?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Success is not money. I'll tell you a story. I was earning 3,300 kwacha a month. I don't know what the conversion rate to pounds is, but it's not a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I begged God. I said, God, please, if only I could earn 10,000 kwacha a month, everything would be all right. Life would be glorious. And not only did I earn 10,000, I got a job 2 weeks later running a radio station. And after taxes, my salary was 13,300 kwacha. So he took the 3,300 and he added 10,000 kwacha.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what happened?
Mm.
My 3,300 kwacha problem became 13,300 kwacha.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. So money, Warren Buffett was asked, when is it enough? And he said, it's never enough. Mm-hmm. Money will never be enough. Success for me, I've tried to be as selfless as possible. So success for me is this weekend seeing my clients pull off an event and it went somewhat smoothly. That's what success is. Success is my operations manager never leaving Zambia, and just through Quicket and organizing and that, we managed to get a trip together, him and I, down to Cape Town, fully paid for. First time he'd ever been outside of Zambia, and sitting on a beach at Camps Bay with the sunset. Wow. And then with him on the beach, yeah, and then coming back to Zambia and just watching him flourish, just watching his horizons expand and just become so much better at his job than I would ever be. Wow. And knowing he's part of my team and knowing that his life has been impacted, not by what me, but my part in that. Yeah, I would like a little bit more money to be able to go on holiday sometimes, or be able to get a new car and things like that, but that is not success. I watch some of these guys. I don't watch social media. I'm not on social media at all. Occasionally I'll see a video shared on a WhatsApp group of these TikTok stars that want to, a new car and that, and that, no.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've talked a lot about like the challenges you've overcome and different successes that you had, and especially when you describe success as not money but of other things, including selflessness or thoughtfulness, and you being a better version of yourself, and watching your team grow and flourish in their own right in what you're able to be part of in their journey, and all these human interactions that seem to be like more defining features of success for you. And you've had some really awful things happen to you, and you've come out and you're still fighting to go on this wonderful, exciting, and also scary journey. And you describe your relationship with God as really great, really wonderful. You describe him as the Father that is there for you, and I think you said, he said, it's okay, my son, I'm sorry that you're hurting, but I'm going to be waiting here for you when you come. So those are all wonderful descriptions of yourself and what you've experienced and who you are now. And how do you continue to learn and grow both personally and professionally?
Personally, I need to spend a lot more time. I made a commitment to spend a lot more time in the Word. And it's funny, I had difficulty learning Bible verses, and so I prayed and I asked God, and I said, God, can you help me? And he did. And so I'm trying to spend a lot more time, but it's easy to sit 3.5 hours on social media doom scrolling on useless crap, where I find it so hard to spend 5 minutes just reading a chapter in the Bible, or doing the thing. So there's still, I'm not there yet. There's still so much more that I need to. And it's funny, every time you think that you're there, every time you stand and look in the mirror and say, I've arrived. Nope. No. No. You still got so much more to. And so there's so much more in my life. I've got a temper problem occasionally. God's helped me with that a lot. Not a temper problem. I struggle with something called frustration intolerance. And you know what that is. And it sounds good on the surface, but it's a terrible, terrible thing. And so if my carefully crafted little universe, if one little wrinkle comes in there, the wheels fall off and I lose the plot. So I'm trying to be better to people. I got bumped off the flight. I was supposed to come back on Sunday. I got back yesterday morning, and I got bumped off the flight. And the whole entire time I was just raging on the inside. And I couldn't help myself. I had a jab at one of the guys there. He was very rude. He basically came and said, "Did you cancel your ticket?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, you're not on the flight, and the flight is full," and he walked off. So, me 2 years ago would have torn that airport down around me and probably gotten arrested. But no, I wouldn't have. I was not that bad. But afterwards, I just walked into his office afterwards and I said, because I had another friend of mine who's a big man in Zambia who also got bumped off the flight. And I said to the guy, I said, you need to be better. You need to be better. You can't talk to people and treat people like that. And he tried to answer me and I was like, and I felt so vindicated and glorious afterwards. And then I got in the bus to take me back to the room and I was just like, why did I do that? Why didn't I speak to him better? Because here's the thing, as a Christian, you're supposed to be a hope carrier. You're supposed to bring hope into the situation because that's the very nature of the Holy Spirit and Jesus, right? You're supposed to walk into a room and the room needs to be better because you have brought the living God into that room. So that for me, that's what, to grow personally, that's what I want to try and do more. I want to try and be a better person. I want to be a better representative of Jesus.
Amazing.
Not because I'm part of this glorious little club and I'm this goody two-shoes or anything like that. Because when I was at my worst, when I was broken and hurting, I trusted him with a little bit. And he came through better than I ever expected. And he has held me up. He has been there for me in my worst moments and in my best moments. And I have fully experienced his love and who he is. And there's still a couple of things that I don't understand. And my friend dying the other week, who is an absolutely incredible human being, I didn't understand that. I still don't. And when I die and I stand in front of him, I'm going to ask him a couple of questions. Like, why is there so much evil in the world and why do you allow that to happen? I don't know, but the one thing that I do know is I do know him and I know how much he loves us. So from a personal point of view, just growing closer to him, because it's not about religion, it's about a relationship.
Yes, it is. It is about relationship.
And yeah, and if you go and look at what the Bible says about who he says you are and what your identity is according to him, it's pretty cool. And then you're like, okay, if this dude that's creator of the universe thinks that I'm this, maybe maybe him and I can be, friends, or maybe I can start to respect him and love him a little bit more. And once you've built that relationship, then you realize, okay, other people need to see this. Other people need to experience this, 100%. And that's your purpose.
Yeah, that's
your purpose. And so professionally, I just want to do my part.
Okay.
God had revealed to me. I'd always felt guilty about owning a ticketing company because I was in the entertainment industry. I was in a band. We used to sing. I was a DJ. I ended up being a master of ceremonies and doing a lot of like stage work and things like that. I was a stage manager, a radio presenter, and then gave up drinking and walked out the entertainment industry door, and it was a revolving door because I walked straight back in it. And I still don't know why I did it, but I love it. I love being at an event, even non-drinking, being at the door or being there and helping people sort things out. And so, God had revealed to me that He has gifted me in the business and the team that we keep the finances of event organizers safe for their events. That it's weird because my dad instilled this in me, and I'll forever be grateful to him for. He's a man of honor and integrity, and he always has been. And he instilled that in me as well.
So you mentioned before a couple of things that you want to achieve in growth, and I think that I 100% believe that you will. One of the things that you've said that I thought was amazing, and it would brighten up my life witnessing you, your bouncers, and your team stood at an event praying. An event that's unrelated, because did you say a Jameson event? Did you say Jameson?
Yeah. So we had one this weekend as well, and I wasn't in town, and my guys were looking after that event as well, and they know to pray before.
Yeah.
And my two guys will say, "This is God's business. This is not our business. This is God's business because He's been with us from the beginning."
That's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing.
And just
sorry, go on.
Yeah, and just knowing, never being late for salaries, always being able to pay rent for the office.
God is so good.
And even though I know in the beginning of the month, like I've got no idea how I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I've got no idea how I'm going to pay this rent because it's expensive. We actually left that office because it was a bit of a vanity thing. I've got no idea how we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden, I look at the account and there's money in the account and I pay the rent. Yeah. I'm not very good with money.
God's going to help you. God, he will help you with that. He absolutely will. Because sometimes things happen to me and I'm like, Lord, what is happening?
Yeah. Give me money.
Well, not so much money, but just lessons, when he's disciplining me or say getting rid of the chaff, I'm like, Lord, seriously, do I need this lesson? Do I actually need this lesson? So it's wonderful. The way that you've described everything that you've experienced, all of the shit show, all the S show that you've come through, and from extreme pain and loss, from physically getting rid of giving your sister an organ and watching her destroy herself with part that you'd given her in a way that had affected you in so many ways because your physical health was affected and your blood pressure was changed and your emotional health was changed and you had to become resilient in different ways and you had to maybe watch what you took, although you didn't, but being in a position where you could have also lost parts of who you are, and then to come out to the other side where you're a great dad, living with your parent. I don't know if you still live with your parents, but living with your family, and making right choices and growing a business and growing in your relationship with God and growing with the people around you. So thank you so much for sharing this absolutely amazing and inspirational story about yourself, Jason. It was so wonderful to hear it, and I'm really glad to have met you and to be part of your journey in some way.
Do you want to hear something funny?
Yes.
This is the first time that I've ever talked about my story in a formal setting.
Wow.
So
how do you feel?
On a show. I always had difficulty talking about my experiences with my sister. Because I didn't feel like I should be, and I still don't, and I do. I'll accept it a lot better these days. But when somebody says, "I am so proud of you for giving your kidney," it used to get stuck in my craw. No, don't say that. I don't want to know that. I don't. It wasn't a sacrifice to me. It was. I needed to do it. It was something that I did, and I didn't even give it a second thought.
Yeah.
And it turns out that I, because of my severe low self-esteem at the time, well, still struggle with it a little bit, not as much, that I didn't believe that I deserved praise for something that I did. And you mentioned, what would you say to your younger self? And I said to you, love yourself a little bit better. And if you think about love, the true term of 2 Corinthians 13, if you think along those lines of what love is patient, love is kind, it doesn't hold any wrongs. And it doesn't say anything about loving somebody or loving anything. It just says that these are the characteristics. So if you struggle with self-doubt and self-respect, and you want to love yourself, meditate on those verses. Because if love is selfless and love is kind and holds no records of wrongs, when you feel guilt and condemnation for the things that you've done, when you feel so badly about yourself, love yourself, and love does not hold records of wrongs. It's patient, so you can be patient with yourself. And then you realize that if you start to love yourself a little bit more than you do before, you can start to love the people in your life around. Because you know the difference between a collective and a community. A collective is a group of like-minded individuals, and they follow one thing. And as soon as you don't believe in that one thing, or as soon as you don't think like they do, you're out. But a community is a group of different-minded individuals, different people from different walks of life, and I think that's what when you learn to love somebody else, that's what you become. Is that you have a community is a thing where there is something to follow or something that you believe in as a group, but not everybody believes it in the same way. And so when you learn how to love somebody, you become a better part of the community. So you love yourself first, and I'm not talking about being selfish, because remember, love is selfless. You love yourself first, and then you'll find that you'll start integrating with the people around you a lot better. You'll start to have more impact on the people around you. And I speak from experience. This is what happened after I got off the antidepressants, because I was so self-absorbed, and I had no option, because depression does that. Depression removes all hope, because that's what the main thing about depression is the absence of hope. And it because you're in so much pain mentally, it takes the spotlight and it focuses it on yourself, because you're dealing with so much in your mind that you cannot think of anybody else. So you learn how to, and that's what happened to me, is once I got out of the antidepressants, and I learned how to love myself a little bit more. And again, not selfishness, not like I'm better than, just, hey, guy, it's not as bad as you think you are. You're okay. Just then you love yourself a little bit more, and you find it a lot easier to love other people. And when you start to love other people, the world around you becomes better. Because Jesus said, when he was asked what the 2 greatest commandments are, love your God with all your heart. Yes. And love your neighbor as you love yourself. Yes. And so those are 2. And this is the guy that did so much for us as a species, that he's worth listening to a little bit, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Yeah, you're right. I love the way that you described that and shared that, and given people some hope in terms of, you've tried and tested it out. You've talked about some really horrible things that have happened to you in places where you were wakeboarding with giant crocodiles because you didn't give a crap if you were going to die or not, to a place where you're loving yourself and talking about growth and strength and success, and seeing yourself for who you are in God. And that's wonderful. That's a wonderful, inspirational place to be at. So yeah, Jason, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And everything that you shared. Thank you for being so open and honest.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know how grateful. I don't know how to be grateful to him who has pulled me out of the mess. I imagine it like kneeling in a pigsty, up to my waist in filth, and Jesus coming in and kneeling next to me, putting his arms around the filthy me and saying, "Come, there is a better way. There is a better way, and I will take you there. And when the pain does come and the bad things happen, I'll be standing right next to you through the whole of it." And I think I've counseled a couple of people, not counseled, counsel is a hard word, it's a strong word. I've just shared with people that have got drinking problems or drug problems. And the times where I shared it and I made it more about the physical things that you could do. Don't write it down on a piece of paper. It has never been effective as turning around and telling somebody that no matter what they've done, no matter how filthy or bad that they think they are, he is there, and he loves you, and he wants to have a relationship with you. I said this to a friend of mine. Imagine you go on a date with somebody, and he or she, depending on, starts talking about marriage, and starts talking about all the things that you have to give up, and say, "You can't do this anymore. That sport that you're doing, that car that you have to sell them, and you have to do this if you want to be with me." Is there gonna be a second date? No. No. And that's what people think the relationship with God is that, because it's a relationship with a genuine person, like a real person. And that's what they think the first interactions with God is, that he's going to punish me, that I'm going to have to give up all of this stuff. But it's not the case. He genuinely loves you. And if you could think of the best date the best date ever would be that person listening to you. Because that's the main thing. I mean, I've been on dates where the person doesn't listen to me, and she never got a second date. But the greatest relationships in my life have been where I sat down and had an absolutely fantastic conversation with somebody. And I tell you, the longest relationships in my life have been those that I could actually sit down and genuinely interact with somebody and have a great time. And what more the creator of the universe? Absolutely.
And
I can guarantee it. He is genuinely interested in you.
Yes, he is.
Genuinely interested in you, and he's been there through every single one of your struggles.
Yes, he is.
I was sitting in a Bible study with a friend of mine, and she opened up about her anxiety, and instantly there was a connection between her and I, because I knew, I said to her, and I felt like God was leading me to tell her that the anxiety, he never gave it to her, but he's there waiting, and you learn. And he wants her to learn to reach out to him. Every time that anxiety happened, he wants you to reach out and take a hold of him, give him the anxiety, bring him into the situation, ask him to help you. And that's exactly what happened to me this last weekend when I had that massive anxiety attack.
Yes.
And the experience of her, and she came a couple of weeks later and she said to me, it helped, it worked. It worked, and the anxiety attacks are far less extreme. And it's the same with me. And if you can trust somebody, let's say I give you £1. You say to me, "Hey, can I borrow £1? I'll pay you back in a week." You say, "Okay, here's £1." And 3 days later, you pay me back £2. And then you come to me again and say, "Hey, can I borrow £50?" I say, "Sure, no problem." And I give you £50. And you come back and you give me £60 back, or 70 or £100. Then when you come and ask me and you do that a couple of times, eventually if I've got it and you come and ask me for £10,000, I wouldn't even think of it. Like, yeah, sure. And that's what I feel. And it's not as transactional as that with God, because you don't give God something to get something in return.
No.
But if you give him your trust, if you give him your trust, just that little instance of trust, you say, "Oh God, I'm going to trust you with this," and you give it to him, he is willing and able to pay you to give it back. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
And worthy of your trust as well.
Absolutely, absolutely worthy, because he is. Glory to God in everything that you do and everything you've done. Really inspirational to hear how wonderful your relationship is with God. Like inspirational for me as well. Because yes, God is absolutely amazing and deserves all of our worship. And he's so amazing, and he's got a really great sense of humor. When right, when you get to know him, and he's
when you finish with this, go, if you've got Spotify or anything, go and Google or YouTube, go and look for a song called Agnus Dei.
Agnus Dei.
Agnus space DEI. So Agnus Dei.
Okay. Thank you so much for everything, and thank you for sharing everything that you have and walking us through this wonderful, wonderful, scary, horrible, amazing, all of the above journey that you're on and going through. And I pray that you just have every success and all your dreams coming true.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much for reaching out to me and giving me this opportunity for the first time to share my story with an audience. I've known, and it's funny because it all happened 15 years ago. So, and up to now, I've never, and I think it was the right time to maybe start telling my story. Again, not for anything selfish or like, hey, look at me, because I reject that family. But just to share with somebody, if there's just one person that needs a little bit of